Welcome, Dave.
Howdy.
I don't know, that image is unsettling. You're smiling, and I'm not used to seeing that. I don't like it. That's not the Dave I know.
Yeah.
So, Thursday, April 30th, the year our Lord 2026, and we're here for another Duluth Conservative, episode 62. Shall we get into it, Dave?
Yep. I mean, we got a ton of pages, so we got to get to all of them.
All right. So if you're new to this Duluth Conservative, we are going to go through stories that we've curated through the week that we think are interesting or maybe haven't been heard of in the area. Just something to talk about. And you're going to get it without, kind of crazy looking things where people are screaming at each other. So I keep getting this message to move my camera, but I don't know which way. How's that?
Farther to the outside of the building.
Outside of the building, I can't.
There.
Okay.
There, got a little farther. Okay, there you go.
Right,
now it's back to normal. Now we're back to normal. So that's all we wanted.
All right. So we're going to go through this kind of structured. We're going to go through top stories. And after we're done with the top stories, we're going to talk about Duluth news, Minnesota legislation. Our favorite merged topic is Tim Walz and Minnesota news. We're going to do national news and international news, and then end it with health and fitness and the word of the day. So for the top stories, we're going to talk about the assassination attempt on President Trump and some other stories related to that. We're going to talk about our great Ilhan Omar reading off a script that would make Ron Burgundy proud. We're going to talk about the new passport that's going to be available, some stuff that's being done by the Department of Justice, and a couple more like Al Gore stuff, some failed solar power stuff, and some election integrity stuff. That's all top stories. So it's a kind of a big pool of top stories, but they're all fun to talk about. So let's start with the Trump assassination. So in the correspondence dinner, and I think this is old news for a lot of people, but we're just going to talk about it first, and we're going to talk about some of the stuff around it. A guy tried to run past security, get in there, and he said he was going to shoot as many people as possible in the cabinet. And he had a whole plan. He sent his manifesto, and that's how you know they're really, really sane, is they send a manifesto out. And so he had a semi-automatic handgun, a pump-action shotgun, 3 knives, charged past security. Did you see the video of this, Dave?
Yeah, I seen as he was trying to run past security.
Yeah, he got past a bunch of them, which was kind of amazing to me, and they looked very relaxed. When you've got the president, his family, the vice president, his family, I think Cash was there. You got a lot of people there. You'd think they would be more on alert, but every time this happens, it looks like they're just kind of, just the president,
right,
surrounded by a bunch of news correspondents. They're going to be fine. And then I've seen people reacting to this, and this is one of the more interesting things is, people are writing shoot, missed again, stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you consider yourself a good person, if you have the guys that you're a caring, helpful person that loves everybody, and you harbor those emotions, just understand you're not a good person. Just accept that. You might as well just lean into it, because you are not a good person. You are wishing ill will on somebody else. Somebody who's just trying to help the country is not getting paid for it. And, you may not like his policies, but you don't have to wish death on somebody or take so much glee in the thought of it too. So understand that you are not a good person. That as soon as you accept that, maybe you can move on with your life or learn how to lose that captivity it has over your body.
Yeah, I mean, if you find a new church, because obviously the church you're going to doesn't heal your soul at all. It's just making you worse. Somehow it's making you angry and bitter. And yeah, find a new church, find a new friends group,
Find a church.
find a soul.
Go to temple. Yeah, go to mosque. Whatever it is that fixes your ailment. Get into it and start, really following that.
Yeah, because if you're wishing death on somebody else, you've got a serious issue,
right?
That needs to be taken care of. So,
and we're going to go to Wisconsin, a couple touch points today, but there is a brewery that's offering free beer to when somebody actually does. He says it actually assassinates Donald Trump. He's offering free beer for it. I don't even know how this is legal. This seems like solicitation for an assassination. You're just not paying for it with money. But you're promising something in exchange for a murder. Seems like a big problem to me. And this place should go out of business, not because the government shut it down, because the people are going to turn their backs on people like this that are so insane. So, Wisconsin brewery owner makes chilling social media post telling customers he won't be able to give them free beer because the Trump assassination was unsuccessful. So as soon as it's successful, or, God forbid it is, that's his plan. Again, no soul right there.
Yeah. And what I would do if I lived down there is I'd hire every single bus company in the state, go to every drug addict, every homeless guy on the street, promise him free beer, load him up in the bus and drive him over there. If he's going to give away free beer, let's see if he can give away 100, 200,000 bottles of free beer.
I'm sure he will. Advocating violence can result in the revoked liquor license. Their Chamber of Commerce there in Wisconsin issues liquor licenses, and I think I may have taken a snapshot of this so we can post it. Let me just see if I can do that real quick. 1 second, please. Talk amongst yourselves. All right.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that would be a pretty easy slam dunk to get them out of business.
Well, I mean,
if not in jail,
consequences for that.
Yeah, I would say throw the guy in jail.
So if you're in the area and you're inclined, report this. This is something that I would think the Secret Service would be involved with, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't do that, right?
I'm sure there's a law against that. A federal law. We'll find out if he's in jail one of these days, just like down in the cities,
Right.
Fed's got to come in and fix things.
Next thing. I don't know if you saw this, David. And I honestly thought this was made up when I heard about it. But this video I have here is from C-SPAN. And I have to believe that they're not doing fake videos of Ilhan Omar. So she's reading, so you've seen the movie Anchorman, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things is, Ron Burgundy will read whatever's on the script. He doesn't do any kind of critical thinking. He just reads it, right? Gets him into big trouble. Well, we got Ilhan Omar talking, and she's talking about World War II. But unfortunately for her, they didn't put the number 2. They just put, 2 L or 2 I's, the big, Roman numerals. Well, she called it World War 11. Now, in her defense, she did catch it mentally after she said it. But how do you even say it? That's right. The crazy part. And you want to pop that video up? It's at about 49 seconds in. You can just go right before that and just play it, just so you can see that she actually did say this.
I like watching the people behind her.
Amazing. What is this? This is not it. Yeah, go to like 45 seconds.
For German, Japanese, Italian immigrants during World War 11. Oh, 2, sorry. One of the most shameful chapters of American
They don't even
history.
react, right? Maisie back there. I mean, they're
Yeah.
really doing the competition to see who's the most incompetent. But yeah, at least she catches it and realizes what she said. So I got to give her some credit for that, honestly.
Yeah, but the two ladies behind her, the one from Hawaii, I don't know who the other one is. They didn't even react to it. It's like
They
they
don't
didn't even
listen.
know. Yeah, they're not.
No.
I wouldn't listen to it.
She wants to get rid of the Enemies Act. So the whole thing on that was the Enemies Act. And that is 1798 U.S. federal law that grants the president authority to detain, relocate, and deport non-citizens from a country deemed hostile during times of declared war, invasion, or predatory incursion. It's the only one of the 4 Alien and Sedition Acts still in effect, currently codified at 50 U.S.C. Chapter 3. Well, and I think she's just a little nervous because there's been reports that she lied on her immigration forms coming in, and she said her brother was her husband and some other stuff. So she could very much be deported. I would think they should strip her citizenship away and deport her back to Somalia, where she came from.
Absolutely.
I hope they do that.
I mean, they keep talking about it, so let's either quit talking or get it done.
Yeah, nothing's happening. They've been talking about it for a year and a half now. Nothing's happened.
Right. Just shut up about it or get it done.
But the good news, moving on to the next story, is if she wants to get a passport renewed, she can get one with Trump's face on it. So did you see this?
No, I didn't hear about that one. I just realized this one today.
Yeah, so there's going to be, I wanted to say 25,000 to 30,000 of these passports will be issued. But there's a laundry list of things you have to do in order to get one. You have to schedule an in-person appointment at the Washington Passport Agency, 619th Street, Northwest Washington, D.C. This one I see, but I don't believe it, is you have to provide proof of international travel within 14 days. You have to actually request it, and there's no additional fee to it. So the big thing is going in person and getting it. You have to go into Washington to get it. I think it's July 5th they're going to have them. So I'm guessing there's either going to be a long line. You're never going to get it, but I think it'd be very fun to get a passport with Trump's face on it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I would just love it.
There's going to be a line for that for sure.
So since we know some policymakers watch our show because they keep enacting stuff that we're talking about, maybe one of Trump's cabinets watching, and, do a solid for me. I got to renew my passport this year. Let's get this done.
Yeah.
Speaking of kind of in that same vein of what we have going on in the Department of Justice has sued a company for excluding Americans from high-tech jobs. So they are actually making some progress now, going after companies that use the foreign market, just like they do. This is like what they want to do with the illegal immigrants. They want cheap labor. And so what they do is they farm it all out to other countries because, they want all these labor laws and they want all this stuff on companies, but they don't want to have to pay for it. So they are actually, the Department of Justice is actually going after these guys. And I have to tell you, this guy, Todd Blanche, he's now in for Pam Bondi. Wow, what a difference. Like, he's getting a lot of stuff done. I mean, this is just one of like 7 things I saw that he's doing.
Or he knows how to advertise it better.
Well, she wasn't, this is not something she had to advertise. It's just happening, right? They drop these lawsuits, they report on it. So good. I mean, this is one of like 7 things I've seen the guy has accomplished. One of these, I think he had something to do with those agents coming into Minneapolis and just recently and going after the, Leering Center and the other businesses that have been ripping us off of all of our cash. And the funny thing is, when I go to ChatGPT to find out out anything from ChatGPT, I just want to mention, it's constantly downplaying or coming up with reasons. So I said, what are some accomplishments of the current new Department of Justice? Well, I wouldn't call them accomplishments. They're very controversial, but some people, like, what is
Right.
this? I don't need to go to, a session at the U to understand. I
Right.
want just some unbiased facts. So then I said, use an unbiased opinion. Take your bias out of it and just assume an accomplishment means something done. Then it started getting lists of things out, but then it missed this one. So I'm like, well, what
Yeah.
about this thing? Well, you're right. It's one of the, geez. Yeah. So if you're using ChatGPT for like information mining, please understand that it is it's been trained very biasly now. One of
Yeah,
the things when I was
definitely.
getting my master's degree, they talked about, is AI bias? And AI is not intrinsically biased. It's only biased if you are training it to be so.
Right.
So it depends on the material that you use to train the AI is how it's going to act. That's the long and short of it. That's how you train these models. That's the whole thing about AI now. So training is key. So if you're training it in a certain way, it will train that way. And that seems to be what they're doing. They're really, really throwing a big bias on there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I heard that Gronk is a more neutral site, but I haven't tried it, so we're gonna have to experiment with that one of these days.
The downside to Grok is that it is very limited on what you can do without signing in. And so without being tracked. ChatGPT, the one benefit you have of that is you can use it quite a bit. And it'll just remind you every once in a while that, do you want to log in or not? You can just say no. But Grok is like, hey, you've used your 2 questions. Now sign in or get lost. Fair enough. It's a free service, but you can't complain about it, right? Rob Sakata has been confirmed as the new ATF director. And he is, the first few minutes he was in office, he's removed or changed 34 anti-gun policies. So here are some of them. They repealed the expanded background check rule, rollback of pistol brace rule, revision rollback of engaged in the business dealer definition, reworking removal of bump stock equals machine gun classification, and then some licensee information, some other stuff. It's not very exciting, but it's interesting that he's gotten in place, and now he is taking out some of the things that Biden put in place to restrict your fundamental constitutional right to bear arms. Right. Understanding that the Constitution is there to tell the government what they're not allowed to do, not what you are allowed to do. You are allowed to do it unless it's constitutionally illegal. So it's important to know that. And it's nice to have somebody in there that's rolling some of this stuff back.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, where what the Constitution is there for. It's to restrict the government, not the people.
Right.
And I think that's been lost, especially in Minnesota.
A lot of people don't understand that. They think that the Constitution tells you what you are granted as a right. It's not. It's to define, to just clarify so that it isn't ever tried to be imposed what is your right. But your rights are, according to the Constitution, you have God-given rights, meaning even if you don't believe in God, if you want to go down that alley, but you have intrinsic rights as a person, and the government only has so much control over you. They've lost that completely. I mean, if you look at the laws that they're putting in place, they've completely lost the idea that you as an individual matter. And it's not, it's not the government is controlled and they grant you rights. It's we are in control and we grant them rights. That's the big difference. And that's our system of government. That was so unique. Having come from a royal family and a king, it was fundamentally different than anything anybody had ever done. It's working pretty good as far as I can tell. But some people are so ready to go back. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was kind of humorous. King Charles was at the White House, and all the No King's Democrats were standing ovation. So it just seemed a little ironic to me, but you
just don't get it, do you?
Yeah, you just gotta shake your head sometimes.
So I don't know if you saw this, but it's kind of an aside. Did you see that King Charles? Trump had King Charles walk past like the Rose Garden, in the Rose Garden, they had a bunch of guys in Revolutionary War outfits.
I missed that one. That's
The guy is a three-dimensional troll. I love this.
oh yeah,
That is the fun. Who would have thought of that? You know,
right.
and the people that think, he's got diminished mental capacity, even if he did, he's still well above lots of people. Who would even think of something? I'm sure he's like sitting there. Okay, we're gonna go into Venezuela and we're gonna take that guy. Oh yeah, by the way, I want some Revolutionary Guards in the Rose Garden when Charles comes. Anyway, so we're going to do Venezuela first. So we'll get the key on the oil, and then we'll go after Iran.
Yeah.
He's clicking these things out. You got a bunch of 25-year-olds like, I got to get some sleep sometime, sir. Yeah, go to bed. Get your next guy in here.
Yeah.
All right. You're going to love this one.
Yeah.
Ford's nightmare truck. So the guy, we don't have to play this video because it's 4 minutes long, but basically the guy runs down this new patent that Ford has come up with. And they patented a bunch of things on it. And what it comes down to is it's going to make sure that you're good and ready to drive before it allows you to drive. So it's going to check your eye dilation. It'll check if you said something angrily, and it just won't go out of park if it decides that you're not ready to drive. So you buy a truck, you got the title, you're paying the taxes on it.
Yeah.
But Ford is deciding whether or not you're going to be able to drive it. Isn't that something?
That's completely ridiculous.
Now, just because you file a patent doesn't mean you put it into production, but the fact that you've come up with this technology and filed a patent is telling.
Yeah, and who's going to want to buy it? So I had a doctor's appointment today. So let's say I come out of the doctor's appointment and I had an eye test where they had to put something in your eyes. Well, you're going to get back to your truck and it's not going to get out of park because it can't figure that out.
Right.
That you just had drops put in your eyes. It's like,
well, here's the funny thing too. Let me just go through some of the things it has. An AI camera that reads your face, eyes, and emotions and fitness to drive. It won't let you shift out of park unless it thinks you're calm. It live feeds to insurance companies and cops. There's a complete violation of your privacy.
Yeah.
Biometric scans running you against criminal databases in real time. And lip reading tech and mics that eavesdrop on every conversation for targeted ads.
No. I wouldn't even buy a truck that does that. That might be the death of Ford.
Well, if they implement it. But here's the problem. Do you remember in the 70s, if the government said, well, we're going to give you this device and it can listen to everything you said, people would just throw it into the lake.
Right.
There was a real effort to keep your privacy back in the 70s. I remember that. Every little thing was very, very well scrutinized. Now, I don't know if people care. Well, what, do I get an insurance deduction? Are you going to reduce my insurance costs? Well, yeah. Okay, I'll do it. No problem.
Yeah.
And if I could just save one life.
And live feed it to the government? No, thank you. It's your typical hypocritical Democrat due process people. Well, we're going to do red flag laws, and you don't get due process. But if someone illegal should have due process, even though, Clinton got rid of due process for illegals. So they're only good for laws when it suits them, and when,
Well, I guess the New York
ridiculous.
Times put out an article today that said if you can't have DEI, then you shouldn't be able to enforce immigration laws. I don't know where the math goes to get that one, but they're trying. They're always trying.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Let me go on to the next one, which is one of my favorite topics we're going to go through. Al Gore says we're headed for an ice age. So Al was vice president under Clinton, and then he lost to George Bush, and the man cannot take it. So now he's warning the day after tomorrow ice age could happen in 25 years. So 10 years ago, we were supposed to have lost all of our ice caps and, gone into this global warming, no turning back, but now it's this next thing. Here's the problem. They need to keep you in fear, and they need to keep this pressure up because you get that adrenaline hit when you think you're going to die. You get the dopamine rush when you think you can fix it by, recycling a paper plate.
Yeah.
And it's that same urgency they do in commercials, right? Hey, time's short. They're running out. You got to act now. They don't do this in advertising as an accident. They know what they're doing. They're making you respond because they get that sense of urgency. Well, if you have that sense of urgency all the time, that just wears down your heart, your whole body, and it just makes you frustrated that you feel like you can't do anything when it really doesn't impact you. If Al Gore was right, we should have been basically dead by now, and about 15 years ago at that.
Right.
The oceans were going to rise, ice caps are going to melt, but at the same time, they're buying beachfront property, and they're just suckering you in on this stuff, suckering you in on this carbon tax because they saw it as a way to get money. And boy, Al got a lot of money for this thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're constantly using fear. And that's, like you said, that's part of marketing. One of the motivations is fear,
right?
And we've proven, day in and day out that his environmental movie, all these environmental suggestions have all failed. Every single one of them has been wrong.
Right.
We should have been, like you said, we should have been dead 10 years ago. Florida should be, a small strip of land at the top,
right?
Because everything else flooded. But no, they're still moving down there. There's proof that the water hasn't risen. So all these things have failed. So now he's on to the next one to keep you afraid, to tax you, mostly to tax you.
Right, mostly to tax you. Obama has beachfront property on Oahu and in Martha's Vineyard. He didn't do that on accident. No, those are good. He knows those properties are going to be fine. Otherwise, he wouldn't have bought them.
Right.
Speaking of this climate thing, I don't think solar panels are a bad thing, but when you concentrate them in a large area, they can do damage. Not only are they just massively hot, they're killing birds. So there's this solar facility in the Mojave Desert. Now, if any place this should work, it's the Mojave Desert, right? It gets all the sun. Built with $1.6 billion in federal loans in 2014. The plant was hailed as a symbol of America's clean energy future. It uses 173,000 mirrors to focus sunlight onto 3 massive towers, heating liquid fluid to drive steam turbines. After 11 years, the technology is obsolete. The facility has become notorious for its environmental toll, with estimates of at least 6,000 birds incinerated each year by these beams.
Yeah.
They're not ready, and as much as they like to try it, that's $1.6 billion more of your tax money. Just keep piling up this tax money that goes into these programs. It's not going into all this. This didn't cost $1.6 billion. Lots of people got paid off for this.
Right.
And then now it's sitting out there. It's this giant thing. We got to clean it up. You can't leave it out there. It's killing birds. What are you going to do with all that glass? What are you going to do with all the concrete that was made to build it? Maybe plant some trees and get done with it, right? Some Mojave Desert. So it's not like we lost a lot of land, but it's still killing birds.
Yeah, and the morons in Minnesota are putting them on farmlands. So let's get rid of food to put a biometrically hazardous material above it. So
even worse, I've seen them clear out forests to do it.
Yeah.
You want to talk about carbon neutralization? That's what trees do.
Yeah.
That's their job.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. The mindset of these people. It just,
Right. Well, I'm going to end the current events thing with the last thing. This guy in Wisconsin, he's 73 years old, and he went in for their mail. They have mail-in ballots. So he went in and ordered like several of them, and he used the mayor's name and politicians' names. And then he got them. So he got the ballots in the mail. He didn't fill them out. He took them to them and said, here's the problem. And you know what they did? They arrested him. He was charged, prosecuted, and convicted. He's facing up to 7 years for this,
Jeez.
for doing nothing other than showing that what they're trying to do is wrong and it needs to get fixed. He wasn't doing this to vote illegally. He was doing it to
Right.
try to show them. That's a whistleblower. That's somebody that should be protected, not incarcerated. If he would have used them and voted and said, look what I did, I voted for it, then it's a problem.
Yeah.
Just getting them, that's how easy it was. And so what do? They put him in jail. How dare you? That crazy?
Well, yeah, it's right along the same lines as the Stop Nick Shirley Act in California.
Right.
You need to stop investigating us for our fraud.
Right.
That you shouldn't be able to do that.
Exactly. Or I had to get
We
that
should be able to.
sunshine just beating into my window on my face.
Once you finally get sunshine, and now you're complaining about it.
I'm not complaining. It screws up my video.
The 3 days of year we get sunshine, and you're.
Yeah, right. Don't worry, it'll cloud up in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's probably will.
Okay. So we're going to go on to Duluth news. Ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the city of Hermantown data center.
Again.
So there's another lawsuit. There's a new lawsuit that's been filed. It's a complaint that alleges the city violated spot zoning restrictions and otherwise improperly changed zoning in the Adolph neighborhood where Google wants to build. And so I'll give you my layout of this thing. I am for bringing in companies to try to get a data center. Yeah, we don't need to show that. There's nothing here to see.
No, I thought it'd be entertaining to see the people.
No, not really. So, so I think we should have the conversation, does a data center work here? And have the companies come and try to sell us as a community the data center.
Yeah.
However, I believe the community has to have a say in it as well. So everything that's happened in Hermantown seems like a really, really poorly managed, horribly executed plan on both the city and the company's part. You can't look at a company and say, you can't ask for that. They're asking for like 20-year moratorium on taxes, on property taxes.
Yeah.
And, they're asking for infrastructure to be built and all this other stuff. Well, here's the thing. That's what their job is, to try to get the best deal they can for their company.
Yeah.
Now, they can ask. That doesn't mean you have to give it to them. They need us more than we need them, to be honest. So they can come and ask all you like. And if your leaders or your people that are represented you have any brains whatsoever and a backbone, they're going to come out and say, well, I see what you're saying here. I've talked to my people and no, you're not getting that. So if that's a deal breaker, goodbye. And we're done. Here's the things we need as a city. And you either, for something this big, I think you need to do a vote. Now you, as a representative republic, we are electing people to represent us in the politics, in the government. But there are some things that affect people so vastly, especially in a small area. I think you have to bring it back to the people and say, okay, I've presented this. I've tried to negotiate this deal. It's up to my bosses to say whether or not we're going to go forward with it or not.
Right.
And what you do is you have public hearings and say, hey, look, I'm concerned about the noise. And the company comes back and say, understood. What decibel level is acceptable? And you come back and you say, this decibel level. Oh, yeah, we can achieve that now because we have this new technology, ABC, that will mitigate it. And then that's part of the plan. If they fail on that, they are penalized for it heavily, or to the point where you shut them down again because they violated that. But we've heard noise, light pollution, water, electricity. Those are the four big ones for data centers. Well, you should be able to answer those questions. So if the company's not answering them, the government officials that are negotiating these deals better be able to answer them, because they answer to the people that live there.
Right.
I wouldn't want a high buzzing data center near my house. I can guarantee you that right now. If they said we can control it, it wouldn't really matter if it was close to my house, because we have a data center near my house. I don't hear it. I don't see it. But we're not talking about the scale of what we're talking about with this one.
Right.
So I think the guys in Hermantown, the city officials, have botched this completely. They're not going to get past it either. I think it needs to they just need to get new leaders there. They need to elect that place out, or whoever signed the non-disclosure has been rezoning under the covers. That's a problem. And I can see where these people are very upset by it. So I get it. I get this protest. They're doing the right thing. They're going off and filing lawsuits. That's what you have to do. They're not, burning people's houses down or going after them. That's the wrong thing to do.
Correct.
So you live in Hermantown. So what's your angle on this?
Well, after thinking about it for a while, I agree with you. But basically, if it was a good deal, the mayor of Hermantown or someone from the city council or whoever was doing that, he should be able to start a city council meeting and then have a blackboard sitting there and say, here's the pros.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what we're going to get out of the deal. This is why it's a good deal. He should be able to convince, with a blackboard and some chalk, convince everyone in the city, hey, this is a good deal. Here's this. Start listing. List. This is why it's a good deal. This is why we're thinking of doing it. This is how it's going to be beneficial for our for our city. But they haven't done that. They've been behind closed doors. They have been signing NDAs. So what are we missing? What aren't you telling us that now it's a bad deal? Because if it's such a great deal, you should be able to stand up there for 5 minutes and go, here's what a great deal it is.
Absolutely.
This is why we should do it. And we
Right.
haven't heard anything from them.
Right.
And I've got 10 other ways to stop this deal, but I'm not going to put it out there because it's fun watching these guys going door knocking and, hey, we're going to stop it because they didn't do the paperwork properly on this charter for the redistricting. No, you guys are missing the whole boat. It's like, so the city, like you said, the city needs to stand up in front of the public and say, this is what's good, or you get rid of them.
Right. And they should
Vote
be
them
able
out
to
of
stand up
offices.
and say, if somebody says, I'm worried about this, they say, yes, and we're addressing that here. Here's what we've come up with. Right.
Correct.
You got to show some forethought and thought about the community in general. It's for the people that live next to bought their houses, didn't want to live next to that probably, unless
Right.
you can convince them that it's not going to have light noise. It's not going to have a bunch of noise, humming noise, and their electricity bills aren't going to go up and their water
Right.
bills aren't going to go up, and it's not going to kill the fish because the water's too warm. There's a lot of real concerns with this. You better start addressing those or get out. And if you haven't thought of those yet and you're still making plans to go forward, there's a real problem with that. You should really take a hard look at who can answer the questions and who can't.
Correct. Yeah,
That's the thing. I totally agree with bringing it up, but you better have some answers for when we say we don't want it.
Yeah.
Now, talk about the Lester Park golf course thing. The things I've heard about that are, well, we don't know. You might have runoff from the golf course into the Lester Park River. Well, there's a golf course there. It's been there for 100 years. You haven't that problem. Why do you think it's suddenly going to be a problem? That's not a real concern. And it's addressed, but it's not real concern. The answer was they're not going to slope it towards there. They don't do it already. They're not going to reslope the course. So it's going to be fine. Well, the extra traffic that's going to go up there. Well, there's nobody that lives near that area. It's separated out, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of naysayers with that one that I can say you could legitimately come up with answers to every one of their problems. And it just comes down to, we don't want it because we want to have that land for ourselves, but we don't want to pay for it.
Right. And that's the same comes back to Reinhardt and the city council. They should be able to go, okay, we want to put a hotel, restaurant, houses in there. Here's how it's going to help Duluth. Boom,
Yes.
boom, boom. Here, and start listing it off. This
Right.
is why we think it's a good deal for everybody. But they can't even do that. They don't even know. Get rid of that, everybody in the city council, because they have no clue of what's going on there.
Well, what I'd like too is that they could say, or if they would honestly say, okay, if we don't do this, we're talking about $10 million at least in revenue a year from tax revenue. But if we don't do it, and this just goes to something we have to ensure and we have to maintain, then your taxes are going to go up. As a matter of fact, because it would benefit the people in the east side, your taxes are going to go up more than the other people around the city because you get to enjoy that area more than the other people do.
Right.
Yeah. So give them the consequence. They're actually, because they don't think about that. They're just, we want this green area that we can, go in and play frolf in, every 2 years. But, we have to insure that place. We have to groom it. There's liabilities with that. You can't just have all your stuff for free. So if you're going to do that and you're going to vote it down, then you're going to pay a consequence. There's a consequence to your actions. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and then but they both Duluth and Hermantown should be able to stand in front of a whiteboard and write down the pros and the cons.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Lay it right out. If not, the council needs to go find new jobs. The mayor needs to quit. Both of them just need to quit.
Yeah,
because they're not worried about the people. They're worried about themselves.
Right, and like the Lester Park thing, they had us in a commission do it. We had a bunch. Do your damn job, city council. Why don't you do some legwork and figure out what's good about this and bad, instead of having everybody else go do the work for you and then just. I agree. I disagree.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything then. I know it sucks to be a city councilor, but you ran for the job, so do the job.
Yep, exactly.
All right, we're going to go on to the next story. St. Louis County eyed for home share pilot program to ease housing crunch. The Minnesota Nice home share program would pair seniors with spare rooms to adults seeking affordable housing, a renting and arrangement lawmakers call win-win. Representative Natalie Zalesnikar, who co-authored the bill, said some of her senior constituents are saying that they are having difficult time paying their property taxes. They said we're not at a time in our life where we can work another job or want to work another job or physically are unable to. So I know Natalie watches. I've talked to Natalie. She got this idea. I told her that this is how I was going to solve homelessness in Duluth. So good for her. She's listening. And this is a good program as long as it's not abused and these elderly people don't get taken advantage of. That's the problem, right?
Yeah, and that's the only the thinking out of the box is really cool. Finally, somebody's doing it. The downside is, how are you going to vet these people?
Yeah,
that the
who's liable too?
Who's liable? Yeah, they could steal. They could batter. They could kill.
Right. Yeah, there's lots of bad things.
Yeah, there's such a liability that who's actually going to be liable for it. So I don't know.
Well, remember, this is my answer to how are we going to solve homelessness in Duluth. In the east end of Duluth, 8B, we had 17,000 people vote for Leash Kozlowski. Those 17,000 people should be very open to having a homeless person stay with them for some time. Yeah. So you set up a website, you set up a program so that you can match the people that want representatives like her who want to have homeless people in the city, because that must be her voters, and give them an opportunity to put their money where their mouth is. And it's a win-win, really. It's a win for the homeless person. It's a win for the person that's providing it. If they want to do something like that, if that's the real policy, back it up. Walk the walk.
Yeah.
So good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. Leash is never home, so she can rent out her room.
She's at an ICE protest. Yeah, you take her room. Yeah.
Down to the cities, yeah. Just sleep in their place, yeah.
Last Duluth news: Grandma Saloon and Grill to close at the Miller Hill location. I haven't been there in a long time, which is probably indicative of why this is happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're going to close that location. The decision comes after a combination of factors, including tough economic realities of the restaurant industry, a fizzling late night dining and drinking culture near the mall because everything's so expensive, people can't go out.
Right.
And because a Minneapolis-based cannabis company, Virile Growth, reached out to purchase the Grandma's building at the busy intersection of Maple Grove Road and Mall Drive. Hooray, we have yet another cannabis store in Duluth. You know, just dull your brain, get on some substance, forget what you're doing, lull through life, and then you and rely on the government to pay for everything. That's pretty much the plan around here. Everywhere you go, it's a tattoo parlor, it's a cannabis store, it's a beer place, it's a brewery, microbrewery, or it's welfare. One of those, and AT&T stores.
Yeah.
there's nothing like, we're losing all the charm that made this city good. We're losing it all to the same store time on time. This strip mall has the same stores as that strip mall does. Is now in downtown, we're getting these, another cannabis store. Oh, another tattoo parlor. I don't understand how many tattoo parlors can stay in business. With as many as there are, people must be getting them 24/7.
Yeah, but just think of the positive for this place. They have their own parking lot. So instead of driving downtown and having to pay $7 to park for 15 minutes to go get your drugs, you just save that $7. You can park in front of the store instead of not knowing where you're going to park downtown Duluth, because it's a good idea to, the best incentive is to pay for parking. So.
Oh, and you have to have a phone to do that. So if you're somebody in your 80s, good luck. You got a $32 fine for missing it. There's a guy that just wrote this on Facebook. I think his business is right across the street from here. He's like, it's $7 to park for 3 hours down here. Go to the mall and there's free parking. What are you doing? Are you trying to drive businesses out of downtown just so you can have it empty so you can put housing down here? Is that the idea? And I understand. I mean, it might be time for the city of Duluth to consider free parking for a couple hours downtown to motivate people to come in.
Right.
And getting rid of coin-operated devices, well, that looks good on paper. And I don't know how you think this is more green. You've eliminated some jobs for people that have collect that. And older people, or just simply people who don't want to have a phone with them all the time, are screwed. You're out of luck.
Yeah. Yeah. What if you forget your phone at home?
Right. Oh, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
Honestly,
too bad.
It's ridiculous. The government should not have a system where they cannot take cash. Cash is the way we do things in this country.
You're correct.
And eliminating it gives them control. You can't do that. And we got to push back on these guys. Where's the city council for this? Where are they looking out for our civil rights here? They're not.
Right.
They're too busy trying to figure out if we need go-karts for our freaking city vehicles in the middle of winter.
Right. Or study. Let's put another $2 million into studying if our I-35 project was stupid or not.
Right. Too overbuilt, Dave.
Yeah.
We can get too much traffic through there. That's crazy. We need gridlock. I will mention something here as long as we've got on this topic. You can't convince me that the people that design the roads in this city aren't doing it to slow down traffic. Everything they do goes down to one lane. They don't put right turn lanes on anything. And the lighting on here is so timed that you basically will hit at least 70% red lights everywhere you go. You can see it. You're sitting at a red light. You see the light on the next block turn green. And then by the time you start to move, it turns red. And then you're stuck again. And everywhere, if they replace a road that has more than 2 lanes, I guarantee you it will have one lane going each way and a middle lane turn. They're They're doing social engineering with the roads around here. I swear to God. Swear.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree 100%. Is they're there to slow you down.
Right. Arrowhead Road is 4 lanes with a middle lane section. I guarantee that if that was built today, it would be 2 lanes, a middle lane, and bike trails on the sides. Guarantee it. They would not allow, enough room to pass anybody. Everywhere I used to pass people on the roads here, because they had, we had 2 lanes, can't do it anymore. Everywhere.
Yeah. And they're doing a study right now to see what they should do about Arrowhead Road. So it's basically, yes, because you can go online. We talked about it a long time ago, but there's an online survey because pedestrians are having a tough time crossing Arrowhead. So they're talking about how to manipulate the road to basically shut it down.
The silly thing is they have a solution for this. Those pedestrian walkways with the flashing lights.
Yeah.
So that's the key. You have to have the pedestrian walkways with the stakes that you can push a button as a pedestrian, the thing starts flashing, and then you can start going. That would solve it. I mean, in a lot of places, that's really all you need. But I sense roundabouts in the future on Arrowhead Road. Guarantee in Kenwood that thing's going to be a roundabout. Guarantee it.
I travel Arrowhead way too much, and I've yet to see a single pedestrian or bicyclist on Arrowhead. Ever. Ever.
I am. I run along Arrowhead Road. But I have to cross it. Well, I have to cross it, and it is a problem, but you know what I do? I wait, and then I run across.
Yeah. You can't wait.
I do, yeah.
People do things nowadays.
It's the worst place in the world, too, because there's a light down in Kenwood. And so where I'm crossing, as soon as the people get the green light, the front ones take off. So you've got these front runners that are going way too fast down there, right? And then they're staggered by the people going the speed limit. And then you got the slow movers. And it's just the longest line of well-spaced out cars you could ever see. But I've run across. I would like to have a walkway, a flashing light walkway to get across. That I would like that.
But there's no sidewalks there. There was no sidewalks.
There's a sidewalk all the way from Costco to Kenwood, or down to Woodland Avenue, actually.
I don't think they had them that far, but
no, they do. I run it, so I run that a lot. It's nice. I mean, somebody was telling me they didn't have a way to walk to Costco from Woodland. I said, yeah, you do. It's right there.
Why would you walk from Woodland to Costco?
Yeah, I don't know why you go to Costco at a walking trail. What is that?
Yeah.
4 miles, 5 miles?
Minimum, yeah. Yeah, let's carry back all my groceries from Costco. The boxes are 20 by 20 feet wide, and let's carry that over.
Big at the end, they're humping back on a cabinet they bought at Costco. All my coal stuff's all bad now. All right, sorry. Totally digress there. But that's it for Duluth news. We're going to go down to Minnesota legislation. HF 5056 appropriates $1.5 million in 2027 from the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund for the creation of a community resilience memorial in Minneapolis honoring Renee Good and Alex Pretty. No. Stop using my tax dollars to commemorate liberal icons. If you want to do it yourselves. Stop taking money from people to do this. It's not your money. It's our money. They're so easily taking money from us. It's like a kid has no concept of what money is. It's just free, right?
Right. We talked about this last week is, how many decades, if not ever, that your taxes would amount to 1.5 million that paid into the state. And they're just treating it like a rounding error.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's, Renee Good is trying to kill an ICE person, an ICE agent, and we're somehow going to honor her? No.
Right. But they got to frame it like it's, she was some kind of hero, apparently. Look, she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. She did the wrong actions. She didn't do the smart thing. And she paid a price for it because she tried to run this guy over and he shot her. Could have ended differently. She acted stupidly, and her wife or whoever it was acting stupidly, encouraging her. They were in that fog of being stupid. And
Yeah.
I'm sure if she would have thought about it, I'm sure she'd look back and they go, that was dumb.
Right.
You know, but emotions are high, they're getting out of control. It's going to happen. And they asked, you know, they ask for these kind of things to happen. They want this to happen so they can make a big deal out of it. And doing this kind of garbage, $1.5 million? No. Democrats introduced legislation to penalize Minnesota cities that fly the old flag. So HF 5077 requires state government to reduce a county or city's local government aid by 10% if that locality flies any flag other than the new state flag. And this guy, this moron that you're seeing right here, is one of the guys that came up with the new design. He's the one that's pushing for this. And nowhere in the state statutes does it say that cities or governments have to play. The only thing it says is the capital has to fly the state's sanctioned flag. That's it. But this is what they're spending time on, a bill that will go nowhere because the House is split 50-50. This is not going 1 second, but they're spending time working on this as opposed to working for you to try to get your taxes down and try to get the spending out of control. This is the thing that it's his ego that's pulled into this. He was one of the guys, the 13 people that decided this new flag that were handpicked by Governor Walz to do it.
Yeah.
And they put this generic flag. I mean, I don't know if you have that image up, but it's the most generic thing you could see in the world. You can't tell the difference between that and just some flag you'd fly in a boat. You can tell. That flag back there, that's the state flag. That's Minnesota state flag up until 2023 when the Democrats just unilaterally decided they were going to change it to some generic flag that looks like it has a huge bunghole on it. So
yeah, and that was the thing is the Walz came in and he changed the rules. The rules is state is supposed to be decided on by the whole state Senate and House, and then he changed it to his 13 buddies.
Yep.
So it's another reason. I think the last survey I seen was 78% of Minnesotans did not like the new flag.
Right. And so, you know, when I'm talking about this, I'm running for Minnesota House here in 8B, I don't even bring up the flag because you know why? It's important, and I will sign a bill if they so choose to get rid of it. That's not the thing that's burning on my fire right now. Burning on my fire is trying to get property taxes and other taxes under control and stop all this nonsense that we're doing. So yeah, we can run on it. It's an emotional issue and people will agree with you, but honestly, it would be a 5-minute thing I would work on. You know, carve out a couple minutes for it, but it should be reverted back, or the people should be able to vote for it one way or another. You know, if people vote for it and say, yeah, that's our flag and we really like it, then you don't like it, too bad. But this is a growing thing. This is becoming a big deal to a lot of people, and they're a line in the sand. And I know how my opponent's going to go on it for sure. So
yeah.
Let's talk about other bills that are going nowhere. Metro Surge, proposals to limit the conduct of federal agents such as HF 3477, 3412, 3435. They're not going anywhere. Gun control measures. Bill proposing an assault weapon ban in high capacity magazines. They're not going anywhere. Sports betting. I'm surprised at this, but at the same time, this didn't go anywhere when the Democrats had the trifecta. I don't know who's for it and who's against it. This is another one on the list of, I don't care. You know, I don't have strong feelings for it either way.
The last survey I seen said, I think it was 73% of Minnesotans are for sports betting. So automatically the Democrats are against it.
Well, here's the funny thing. I know a guy at work, he was telling me that his son is turning 18 and they are targeting all of these apps at those kids. And it's one of those things where you hook up your credit card with them and then you can start gambling when you're 18 years old. That is insidious, doing it on credit card. At least when we were young and stupid and went to Tahoe, I lost like $100. keeping in mind I made $5 an hour. I
Yeah.
lost $100 when we went there. And I was like, that sucks. You know how many hours I had to work to get that $100 at $5 an hour after the taxes and everything?
Right.
It's a good life lesson, but it's hard currency that's out of your hand, and that's immediate. Credit card? That don't matter. You just pile it up. Keep going.
And keep paying interest on it.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's never ending. So that's where I think we got problems. And I don't like the idea that says, well, we'll legalize it, but then we'll have to put money in for programs to deal with their addiction. No, that's not how it works. If it's that bad, then we shouldn't do it probably. And go to Vegas, and maybe Vegas will survive, because I don't think they're going to.
They're not doing well now.
Daylight savings time, a bipartisan bill to keep Minnesota on permanent standard time, has faced significant opposition. This needs to be done at a federal level. We can't have Minnesota. I get it out on the West Coast. Hawaii, no reason for them to go on daylight savings time. But if we're going to start piecemealing this thing together, why can't we just do a federal thing and just get rid of it? I thought Trump was going to do that. I'm so surprised he hasn't done that yet.
He has to deal with Omar too much.
He's too busy taking care of Iran. Environmental regulations, several bad actor environmental study bills. I won't list them all. Related to copper nickel mining are currently listed as not passed by environmental monitors. So I don't know what the specifics are in that, but if it's against mining, it's not going to go anywhere with the Republicans. If it's for mining, it's not going to go anywhere with the Democrats. Wealth tax. A proposed wealth tax on assets over $10 million was weighted by lawmakers, but has not advanced toward final passage. And it shouldn't. Yeah. This is 1% on any wealth above 10 million. It's not 1% of 10 million. It's 1% above that and above. If you have $30 million, it's 1% of that. And it's in perpetuity year upon year. And it basically comes down to the only money that you have is money the government hasn't gotten yet.
Yeah.
And if you fool yourself into thinking $10 million is their limit, because next year it'll be 5, and then it'll be 1 million, and then it'll be 100,000, and then it'll be done. We're all done. Another 1% down the drain.
It'll be 10%. Yeah. 10% on $500,000.
It'll go up. The limit will come down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
License tab fee reductions. So I'm guessing the Republicans tried to get license fees down from after the Democrats jacked them up. And I heard one Democrat saying she wanted to quadruple the tab fees and license fees to pay for things.
Yeah.
Their soul is completely opposed to actually spending, limit spending and cutting spending. Right. Okay. Boy, we're an hour and 3 in and we're only getting to Tim Walz. I got to start moving through some of these. Tim Walz, and you can play this clip. And I just don't understand it. So it still hasn't been explained to me. And if somebody could explain it to me, I would really appreciate it. Tim Walz said that our trans friends and neighbors are facing an all-out assault on their simple right to exist. So you don't need to play it because that's what he said. But can you, Dave? I can't counter argue this.
I have no idea what he's saying. And
go ahead and play it. It's like 30 seconds long.
And our trans friends and neighbors are facing an all-out assault on their simple right to exist. But here in Minnesota, we've instituted protections, including the right to gender-affirming care, because we're a place where everyone belongs.
So can you make the argument that he's making? Because I can't. And I like to think that you can't understand an argument unless you can make the counter argument. So I should be able to take any issue that I am for and argue against myself with knowing the understanding of what you're trying to do. I can't come up with this. I don't know where he's talking about. People are there's an all-out assault and trying to, eliminate their right to exist. Do you know anything about that?
That's what I was trying to figure out I haven't heard of one law or one one example of something like that even happening.
Right.
So I have nothing to say it because it's so stupid.
I don't understand it. It's just, is it just hyperbole? Is he just doing this to get people's emotions up? But can't they see through that? I mean, if somebody said they were coming after me, I kind of want to know what you were talking about and, get away from it or figure out. He just says it with no evidence, no proof, no backup. So what good is he? But they cheered like seals for it. Yay! Hooray! Look at us.
And we're going to see until he's out of office. He's going to lie constantly, nonstop, because there's no consequences for it. Right. Oh, so they catch him lying. Oh, so what? He's not getting reelected. He knows that already.
Right. Well, and we'll see that because I think we have a couple examples of it coming up.
Yeah.
He did do his 8th and final State of the State address, and this is key highlights. He reflected on his tenure. Walz touted his administration's accomplishments over the past 7.5 years, specifically noting gains in union rights, paid family leave, and school funding. Yeah, well, our reading comprehension and math comprehension is below 50% grade level now in Minnesota since you took over. Nicely done. And the paid family leave, great. You don't have to pay for it. You don't know how to fund it, but good job, I guess.
Yeah, the union is a private organization.
Yeah.
Union is a private organization taking money away from our teachers for no reason. I don't know what reason.
They contributed over $1 billion last year to Democratic causes. That's $1 billion of teachers' salary being sent over there. That's not as much as they've taken. That's just $1 billion of what they took from them and spent it on Democrat stuff. He acknowledged difficult periods, including the COVID-19 pandemic, the murder of George Floyd, and the recent Medicaid fraud investigation. So he did. He actually understood that there's fraud. It's good for him. He does not seek re-election, but he stated he does not plan to run for elected office again and may return to teaching. Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, and he already got his sweetheart book deal, so he's already being taken care of on the back end.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then he hopes that Amy Klobuchar will succeed him. Okay. So he said the following: my ask for you tonight is simple. If you're taking fraud seriously, take your responsibility seriously and pass legislation to stop it. If you talk about oversight, vote for that oversight in the bills that are working their way through the chamber. You got to want to stop it, not just talk about it. Beautiful. Beautiful. The Democrats stopped the creation of an independent inspector general. They unanimously voted to take dead people off the voter rolls. They have stopped every attempt the Republicans have made to put some teeth into investigations. They don't want the investigation. So are you talking to the Democrats? Because you're supposed to be leading the Democratic Party. But they don't want it. Clearly, they don't want fraud to stop here. House DFL leader Zach Stevenson of Coon Rapids said he's proud of the part he and others like Speaker Hortman played in Walz's legacy. His quote, "It's an incredible legacy of accomplishment in education and paid family leave and climate and labor. And we have real opportunity here for the next few weeks to build on that legacy and cement it." Yeah, well, you did do an incredible legacy of accomplishments. Yeah, your education went down by 50%. Paid family medical leave is unsupported and unfunded. Yeah, you've done nothing for the climate. The only thing you've done for labor is basically nothing. And Walz said, "But the things we implemented here will be here for decades." Yeah, you're right. It will take us a long time to fix this mess if we can do it at all. So, yay, good job.
Yeah, well, they killed mining. That's for labor, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, you'd think. So let's see. We have this graphic. Minnesota under Tim Walz's policies, and you can just, kind of look at some of the accomplishments we got here. The education one is the one that drives me incredibly crazy. the
Yeah.
teacher. Well, you know what? Teachers don't necessarily know how to run places. They can be good at teaching, but not at running things or managing people. And that
Right.
Walz is a great example of that. Okay. The speech was met with mixed reactions from lawmakers. While DFL members cheered his record, several Republican legislators staged a protest by leaving some seats empty during the address. Ooh. Critics also highlighted ongoing concerns regarding high child care costs, and the impact of federal immigration enforcement in the state. Speaking of which, federal agents, you like that segue? Huh?
Very good. You're becoming
Federal agents
professional.
conduct raids on 22 Minnesota businesses following fraud allegation. During his State of the State address, Walz spoke about the raids. He said, "People who have ripped us off are getting caught, and they're going to jail just like today. I said the buck stops with me." So now the guy has the chutzpah to take claim that he's doing anything at all to stop fraud or immigration policies. And this goes back to your comment before. He just lies.
Right.
You can tell when he's lying because his lips are moving.
Yep.
And this is how you do this. You rewrite it. You just say it didn't happen. And people will believe it because that's what they want to believe. All they got to hear is the thing and they'll believe it. And that's what he does. So he'll say, "Yeah, we've been tough on crime." And people are, "Yeah, tough on crime. He's been tough on crime." Yeah, that's his legacy. And they'll talk about it when they talk to their cronies. And that's what's going to go through. So, yeah, great job. You did a hell of a job, Tim. Great place. And he also said, "If you look back at my record of being very fiscally responsible, fiscally conservative, I do that in my own private life, and I've done it with many of these budgetings. We had an $18 billion surplus you spent through. Then you raised taxes another $10 billion, growing the size of the government by 40%. And now we're $8 billion in debt." Yeah, really fiscally conservative. You know what he did do? I don't think he has a house in Minnesota. So he's been living off the taxpayers' dime without paying property taxes for 8 years.
Right. Yeah. He saved himself $80,000 in property taxes. He didn't save anybody else money.
Right. So far, authorities have secured 59 convictions for fraud, with more than $1 billion stolen by 3 criminal enterprises. One of the most flagrant scams was Feeding Our Future, siphoned off $250 million alone. And that was supposed to go to first responders and autistic children. Only a tiny fraction of the meals were provided when it would be paid for. Most of the money was pilfered, and it was spent lavishly on luxury cars, homes, and real estate. So they took money from us, the taxpayers, and gave it to other people so that they could do it. And I heard somebody was saying that they were being told in the camps in Sudan that there was many states that you could come to in the United States and run these scams, but Minnesota was by far the easiest and you can make the most amount of money. So we're internationally known as a laughing stock as a state.
Right.
All right. So I'm going to move on. I think we've done enough on Tim. Hopefully we'll be done with him soon.
Yeah, what I didn't understand was he was taking credit for the raids that just happened.
Right.
But he kept calling Trump's people as Gestapos, and he was against all the federal. So which is it? You're helping or you're not helping? So if you're a Democrat and you find out he's helping ICE and the FBI, isn't that against everything you just said? So are you lying, or shouldn't there be piles of demonstrators at his mansion saying, "Okay, which side of the fence are you on here, buddy?"
Right. And I think ICE made it very clear that he had nothing to do with it. They didn't know anything about them coming in because they know they can't rely on him. So why would they tell him?
Yeah. So then why is he taking credit for it if his whole party is against, how many bills did we talk about that said, yeah, we need to throw ICE under the bus?
Because he doesn't care. Like you said, he's not running for anything. He got his sweetheart book deal. He's probably swimming in money now. So he's just going to take that and just go around and be an idiot for years. until he just goes away.
I suppose his number one job is gone. Therefore, his number one job is to get reelected, and that job's gone, so he doesn't have to worry about it anymore.
Right. Okay, I'm moving on.
Yep.
Former GOP chair David Hahn has dropped out of the U.S. Senate race. So I found this funny because I found this in the Duluth News Tribune, and it said also running for Republicans are Michelle Tafoya and Royce White. And the DFL includes Angie Craig and Peggy Flanagan. They don't mention Adam Schwarzy, who's by far beating those two in this U.S. Senate race. He is by far the front runner, all the straw polls and all the polling and everything. But who do they mention? Michelle Tafoya and Royce White, because they're popular and celebrities. And they don't want to, promote Adam. They do mention him later in the article, but not up on the headline. Perfect Duluth paper.
Yeah, and I see it every time I see a straw vote comes out. Adam's really right at the top, if not always. Yeah. So
he's got a great story. Adopted, Navy SEAL. He's done all the work. He's gone to school. He's a smart guy. He's putting in the hours. He's putting in the time. He's got a real good shot. So he's got a compelling story, and he's all pro gun rights and pro individual achievement. And I like that. Yeah. I like the guy. Next story. 3 suspects indicted on assault of TPUSA reporter. See, this is the woman that Savannah Hernandez was racially attacked by white people, and she's a Hispanic woman, and they only beat her up because she's Hispanic. And I think they should go on for hate crimes now, right? That's the way we're supposed to do it, right?
Well, yeah, that's normally how it works. Yeah.
And who didn't do their job? Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary Moriarty can't do a thing right. She everything she does, if she's doing it, you turn around and go, well, the opposite must be the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no state charges. The feds had to come in and charge these people for attacking.
Yeah. Yep.
Where's it? Yeah. Where's it? Where's Ellison and Moriarty? It's like
they're at anti-ICE raids and doing forums in Cloquet to talk about what you can do against the federal government. That's literally what Ellison is going to be doing this weekend.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. Well, we know that Bloody Mary's gone at the end of her term. We got to get rid of Ellison now too for not doing their jobs. Because she was a conservative, therefore it's okay to attack her. So
yeah, I want Ellison to get knocked out and have to live in a neighborhood he helped create, and then have him deal with the consequences of people not calling the police because they're too afraid to.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna move on to national news. Got to tidy this thing up. I wanted to just bring this up. So when outside of the that dinner where the guy tried to shoot Trump, he was leaving in his car, and so they put police barricades up, and this woman went to go storm the barricade. So go ahead and you can play the first part of it and then just cut it off at some point. So now she's going past the police barricades. Now she went back in. And now she's F off. F off. Well, that was enough. So she got put into custody. So you can cut off the video now. But in the rest of the video, she's there. What? What am I doing? Why are you doing this to me? It's the same thing over and over. She breaks the law, and then she acts surprised. Like, why are you actually doing something about this? How could you do this to me? Well, and it turns out I heard she's a court mediator. That's her job. Her job is to de-escalate things and follow the law. How can she even do that job? Because going past that barrier, it's very clear. It wasn't like, you had a barrier here? No, she went underneath it. But then she goes on the other side and starts mouthing them. So pay the consequences. Yeah. You can't be a court mediator for stuff like this for kids, I guess, too.
Yeah, and you're not talking, like Taylor Swift drove by. This is the president of the United States.
Yeah, after he'd been, after somebody
Yeah.
came and tried to assassinate him, he was leaving a venue. You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
And the people that are saying that he did this to get the ballroom correlated, well, he's already doing that. And
Yeah.
if you're going to set up a false flag with somebody that's going to attack him like that, you wouldn't leave that person breathing, because that's a huge loose end, no matter what. Right?
Right.
They had the opportunity. If they really wanted to do something like that, they'd eliminate him on the spot, and you wouldn't even have anything. But he doesn't need this. It doesn't do him any good. The natural conclusion was, well, there's a good reason to have the ballroom, because, these kind of things happen. I even
Right.
saw somebody say, well, let me get this straight. There's been no problems in the 5 years he hasn't gone, but now when he goes, there's a problem. Well, he wasn't there for 5 years, so
Yeah.
what? I don't get it. I don't get
Yeah,
that
and
reasoning.
Yeah, and I heard the attorney for the guy who tried to shoot said, well, he obviously wasn't trying to kill him because he didn't have the proper type of weapons.
That'll work. Sure.
Well, yeah,
Shotgun,
yeah,
pistol,
yeah.
knife.
I mean, it's one of the stupidest arguments you could talk about. So
Yeah.
you can't even. Yeah, it's one of those things hard to argue because it's so ridiculous.
Well, who can argue with that?
Yeah.
Wisconsin lowers its speed limit to 17.3 miles per hour at a certain area. So the reasoning for this is that if you see that amount, then you're going to be thinking about it, and then you'll slow down. That's some next level thinking, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Or people are going to ignore it. Are you going to be able to pull them over for going 17.4? I don't think so.
So, okay, I know we've had this conversation decades ago, but it's a federal law that says your speedometer can be 10% over the actual speed by law because there was too much problems they're having trying to get it. So at 17.3, your speedometer isn't even accurate to that.
No. Unless you're
So
in a
there's no
Tesla.
way. Yeah. So even then, the whole thing just makes no sense.
Well, it's one of those things. They're trying to make people think about it. The first time you go past it, you'll think about it maybe. After that,
Yeah.
you're just going to ignore it.
Yeah.
All right.
You wonder who's the moron who came up with that.
Somebody that does city planning from, Duluth, like the Duluth roads. Try to
Right.
slow everything down, because you
Yeah.
can't pull anybody over, so you better slow them down somehow. New York City's socialist mayor already begging for a bailout. He's not even a year in the job. I would say it's going to get worse, but I'll say this instead. It's going to get much worse for them.
Yeah.
He wants a bailout from the state months after taking over. Remember the free bus rides, free trains, free grocery store? There's going to be a socialist paradise. He's screwed.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you elect somebody because they got a pretty smile or a great face and has no experience what he's doing.
Yeah. I don't think he ever had an actual job.
No, he's a rich boy from rich parents. He went
Yeah.
over to get married in another country, and they had a palace. He never
Right.
had. The easiest way to be a socialist is never having to worry about money in the first place. You get the
Right.
extreme rich and the extreme poor. It's people that have nothing, and so they have nothing to lose. And people that have everything, they don't care because they just don't understand the concept. Those are the people that say money doesn't matter. You can always tell somebody who's
Yeah.
always had money in their life when they say money doesn't matter. You've been hungry, you know how much money matters. Not
Right.
everything, but it matters.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go down to international news. We're going to breeze through a couple of these. What is this? Cyclist who killed pedestrians to be jailed for life in the UK. So a guy hit a 44-year-old mother of two while he was riding a fixed gear bike with no front brake in East London. He was cleared of manslaughter, but found guilty of causing bodily harm by wanton and furious riding. I'm sorry. Furious riding in a bike? Come on.
Yeah.
It's a bike. After being hit by the club cyclist at Regent's Park in 2022, rider cannot be prosecuted because speed limits don't apply to cyclists. Cycling groups oppose the new law, claiming it could deter people from riding bikes. Well, maybe just don't hit people.
Yeah, there was two things that came out of that story that I thought was interesting. One was America's going to have the same problem because our e-bikes are going extremely fast, and you could seriously hurt, kill, maim somebody. There's no laws on it. Like, say, an electric car. What's an electric car? What's a Tesla? Well, it's a car.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when you put a electric motor on a bicycle? Well, that's a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
So should we have all e-bikes register as motorcycles? And should all e-bike riders have to get their driver's permits? Motorcycle driver's permits?
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, at some point we've got to figure this out and straighten it out to, what we're going to actually do about it, because, obviously they're having a problem with bikes over there. So what they did was they changed the laws. So basically it's the same as a car. You run someone over, kill them, you could go to jail for life if you kill somebody on your e-bike, the same as you would if you hit someone with a car. So the UK changed the laws so the bicycles became the same as cars, which to me
I don't
makes
understand how killing somebody can't land you in jail, especially
it's
if
a bicycle.
I know, but if you're riding it in an uncontrolled way, where you're fast enough to kill somebody, that doesn't seem to need to be much of a law there. That should be automatic. But
Yeah.
Bikes have to follow the same rules on the road, theoretically.
Theoretically.
Although try going down to Park Point and try running against traffic and having a bike coming against you all the time, because they don't understand that you're supposed to be driving with traffic as opposed to traffic. So
yeah, and then the second point to that was that last line in the story was cycling groups opposed to the new laws, claiming it would deter people from riding bikes. I'm not going to ride a bike if I know I'm going to have to follow laws. I should be able to kill somebody with my bicycle and get away with it. I mean,
yeah, what a weak argument.
Right. It's like this is beyond stupid. But back to the main point is Minnesota's got to come up with. They're as popular as they're becoming. It's got to be straightened out. So in the future, we know exactly what to do with them. Because obviously UK is having a problem. They straightened it out. So,
all right, let's move on. Macron, the guy in charge of France, has finally realized that Big Daddy America isn't going to be there to support him anymore. So he has to shore up support because he needs somebody to take care of him. So he's now saying that Europeans must recognize the US, China, and Russia are dead against us. So another hyperbole, make it all dramatic, Jesus.
Fear.
Yeah, fear, because he needs somebody to take care of him because, the United States and Russia and China are all against you, or dead against you. Well, if we were really, you'd just be half that. You'd just be dead.
Right.
And I don't think anybody here in the United States wants to go to war with France, even though they tick us off.
It'd be like taking over Greenland.
Yeah. All right. This one really shook me. This parental rights are not a factor in Canada. So this guy made this argument, and he has old video. You don't need to play it because he's a moron. But basically what it comes down to is, he even says this in his little speech. He was abandoned by his parents. He and his 4 brothers and sisters were all abandoned by his parents in Canada. They went to Canada, they brought their kids, and then they left. They left the kids there. So this guy has an axe to grind, which is much like a lot of our legislators here. Oh, poor me, what happened to me in my life. I'm going to get to be a lawmaker so I can punish everybody that I ever thought was against me. So this guy says, he's so tired of hearing about how parents have rights over their kids. And that's not the case. Well, what does he think? Well, the government has that right. Parents don't have the right. The government, that's the government's purview. And in Canada, it's getting more and more like that. So it's a scary place, but I just found it chilling. We'll post this. And that is all I have for this. We're going to end with health and fitness. We're really running long today.
Yeah, considering how many pages, we're actually doing pretty good.
Nah, not too bad. So health and fitness segment is here because Dave and I both agree that health is important to people. They should be going out and trying to better yourselves at all times, mentally and physically. Go out, take a walk, do some leg lifts, do some squats, do anything. Skip dessert tonight. Do something for your body. Try to get in better physical shape if you can. But that's what this segment's all about. But you have a great article here, and it's about saunas. And so we'll talk about this in depth. This could go another 3 hours, maybe. Saunas may not just be snake oil. Here's what the research shows. So apparently there's a study in 2021 that said regular sauna use improves cardiovascular health, has benefits to cognitive health, and maintain a muscle mass. So some of the highlights of this. Sauna use mimics physiological and protective responses introduced during exercise. Repeated sauna use optimizes stress responses via hormesis and heat stock proteins. Sauna can appear to reduce morbidity and mortality in a dose-dependent manner. Frequent sauna use may protect against cardiovascular and neurodegenerative disease. And sauna use provides a means of preserving muscle mass and countering sarcopenia. So sarcopenia is a muscular skeletal disease characterized by the progressive age-related loss of skeletal muscle mass, strength, and physical performance. It typically begins around age 30, with muscle mass declining by 3 to 5% per decade. And you're going to like this one, Dave, becomes more pronounced after the age of 60.
I'm not there yet, so yeah.
This is why taking a sauna is good for you, and everybody should take a sauna every day. And I guarantee, if you were to take a half-hour sauna every day at a proper temperature, which makes you cry when you get out, which makes your face hurt when you hit the water, if you're doing that, you're going to live longer. And you won't be any mischief, because once you take a sauna like that, all you want to do is lay down and go to bed.
No, they were saying 20 minutes for 3 to 4 times a week. So
yeah, that's
you can't do this. Yeah,
30 minutes every day.
For us amateurs, it's a max of 20, and it's got to be only like 104, 105 degrees.
208 last night when I had that thing cranking. It was great. And I'll tell you what, people used to look at me like I was crazy. When I lived on Maui, I would go running in the middle of the day. When I got done with work at like noon or 1 o'clock, I'd go running at that time. It was like 87, 80s, 75 to 85, somewhere in there. And when I was done, I go in the pool. And when I was done with that, I go in the sauna. And it was just glorious. Just glorious. Okay. That's it for that health and fitness. So do you have anything else you want to go over before we do the word of the day?
No, we've pretty much extended ourselves today. So,
okay, I'm going to go over the word of the day. And the word of the day is mythomaniac. Referred to a person suffering from mythomania, a condition characterized by an uncontrollable tendency to lie continuously, often without tangible gain. Oh, wait, why did this picture come up? I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
Must be unrelated.
Unrelated, yeah, completely.
From the two that are in the picture, right?
Yeah.
Walz and Ellison. So that was my word of the day. I came up with it today. Dave took the week off.
I was trying to find a common theme of today's show, but that's a perfect word for today's show. Good common
I thought that
theme.
was a good one.
We're talking about fraud, Walz's speech.
Right.
And he lies like nobody's business.
Right. All right. If that's it, and I think it should be because we got to go, please like and subscribe. I actually have work I have to do after this. So like and subscribe, please. Really appreciate you guys coming on. I'm going to throw you a shocker. Shock. Okay, I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
Shaka. Be good, and we will see you next week. And until then, I'm Dave. Oh, God. Okay, I'm gone now. I'm Sean.
I'm Dave.
And this has been Duluth Conservative. We'll see you next week.